All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us today. Go ahead and start up our presentation. Okay. All right, really quickly, guys, before we get started, you may have noticed that your audio has been muted. There will be a question and answer session via the chat within the WebEx system here. There's also if you click on the options up at the top, a Q&A area. If you'd like to submit questions there, you can do that as well. So go ahead and submit those. I'll be trying to check in with the chat as we go through. If anybody has any major issues, go ahead and let me know. All right. So welcome to the Learning Space public webinar today. My name is Matt Whitman. I'll be your audiovisual expert and host. And today you're going to learn about why you should choose Learning Space over other systems. You're going to learn about the recording and debriefing capabilities of Learning Space, the evaluation and reporting features, the scheduling, room booking, and resource management functionality, as well as different hardware configurations designed to fit your simulation center. A little bit about Learning Space as we get started. Learning Space is offered as a complete solution, hardware and software, by a single vendor, CAE Healthcare. Learning Space remains the leader in providing the market with a hardware-like footprint. Learning Space is an all-digital, browser-based, multi-platform compatible, low-latency, robust, all-in-one software solution. As you can see from the graphic here, Learning Space kind of combines all the major functional needs of a simulation center in an audiovisual solution. It pulls in the patient surgical and ultrasound simulator data. It pulls in standardized patient usage, SP training, SP scheduling, and, of course, data entry and time tracking. And then we also have all other center management functionality as far as learner scheduling, OSCE setup, automated functionality of recording, you name it. A little bit of the history of Learning Space really quickly. Learning Space was developed in 2000 for Tulane University of School of Medicine Standardized Patient Program. In 2003, it was made available to other institutions who were making the move from paper and VHS to digital recording and digital databases. In 2010, CAE Healthcare acquired Learning Space and its development team and added Learning Space to its product portfolio. Benefiting from the vast resources available to CAE Healthcare, the Learning Space software engineering team improved patient simulator functionality to provide a balanced software to our hybrid users. By that I mean our users that are using both standardized patients and simulation. In 2014, CAE Healthcare sold more cameras than simulators. And finally, today, Learning Space is used by over 200 plus multi-room simulation centers globally. And a little bit more quickly on our team. Our Audiovisual Solutions team's mission is to develop and maintain an evolving AV software solution for evolving healthcare-based simulation environments, providing best-in-class customer and engineering support for our Learning Space users. That's from troubleshooting to open dialogue and brainstorming new features with our users. And ensuring Learning Space is a platform where flexibility meets ease of use. Those are the top priorities of our team. Now let's go ahead and, without much further ado, start taking a look at what Learning Space is. We'll be looking at our Learning Space Intuity release, and also I'll just point out, as you can see on the slide here, Learning Space trial sites are available. So if you'd like a chance to have a sandbox version of the system to take a look at, we'd be happy to oblige that. So I'm going to quickly just drop out of this presentation. I'm going to jump over to my Learning Space browser. I'm going to check on the chat just to make sure we don't have any issues. I don't see any messages. So I'm going to hope and assume that everybody can hear me well, and we're doing just fine. Okay, so let's talk about Learning Space. Learning Space is a web-based audiovisual solution as well as center management solution. As you can see right now, I'm on Firefox accessing this system. To further illustrate the web-based nature of the system, I'm actually broadcasting right now from Newport News, Virginia, and I'm accessing the system that we have in our CAE Healthcare corporate headquarters in Sarasota, Florida. So you'll see everything I'm pulling up today is coming from down there in Florida. Now, I'm going to log in here really quickly. Every single user, that's every learner, every standardized patient, faculty, and staff, or administrative user of your Learning Space system, they'll have their own account in Learning Space. and they can log in using an email and password option here. We also have what we call a legacy login area where you can choose your role before you log in and then search for your name and log in with your password. Now, all of these accounts that you can create in the system, they can be LDAP authenticated. And by that I mean if you want to maybe authenticate your learner and user accounts in Learning Space with maybe an already existing database, let's say your email database, something like that, you can set it up so that those accounts are linked, and if you change the password on your email side, the password in Learning Space side changes as well. All right, so I'll quickly log in. Looks like I already have my credentials pulled up, but I'll just go ahead and search for my name really quickly. You'll see how this works. There it is. Type in the password, and here we go. Logging in to the system. So when we first log in, this is what we see. This is called the dashboard home screen of Learning Space. It's an icon-based interface. All these different icons bring me to different major functional areas of Learning Space system. And then down below, we have this area called Your Activities. Now, activities in Learning Space are your actual learning activities, and that's the same word. But what I mean by that is when you bring learners and standardized patients and faculty members in, and you have them run through certain scenarios, certain what we call cases, that's what we call an activity in the system. So you'll see a number of them listed here, and we'll talk about that more as we go through. Now, I'm logged in right now as an admin level user in the system, and what that means is that I can see all of the activities in my system, and I can also see all of these icons, all the different major functions that can be performed by a user. I can see them as an admin level user. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's a lot of buttons, a lot of activities to sift through if I'm not an everyday user of the system. And the good news is that you can customize the look that certain users see just to what they need to have access to. So let's try this. I'm going to go over this tab right here, and I'll log in really quickly as a standard faculty member. Let's see here. Doogie Hauser. He's one of our residents here. But type that in. And when I log in, you see really quickly, first of all, the biggest difference is Doogie only has access to 2 of the activities in our whole system. So, whereas as an admin level access, I had a whole lot going on there. As soon as Doogie's logged in, he only sees those 2. Those are the ones he's specifically assigned to or a part of. And then he has also fewer icons, so he can't do as many things in the system as an admin level user either. Now, a third option, just to fully illustrate this, let me log in as a learner as well. So you'll see that difference. So if I go over here, I'll choose learner access. I'll start typing in the name of one of my students, password, and quickly take care of that. And then again, one more time, you see this learner, Timothy Alexander, he only has access to one of the major functional areas, video review, which will allow him to watch any video that he has been given access to. Learners can be given access to the videos that they are in, and you control which of those videos they have access to and when and for how long they will have access to them. You can even track on the back end whether or not they have actually accessed those videos, how many times, and that's true of any reports that you release to students through the Learning Space system. You can also see down below, Timothy has fewer activities he has access to. So one more time, just to quickly review. This is maybe a standard look a learner might get when they log in. Here's the look that a mid-level faculty and staff member might see. And then again, you have your admin level, they're seeing everything and they're kind of overseeing the system. All right, so now that we've gotten somewhat acquainted with the overall setup here, let's start looking at some of the functional areas. Now, if I click on this recording area, that's going to bring me to where I have access to live feeds of all the cameras within my simulation center. So you can see that brought me to this page. It's called the Center Overview page, where right now I'm seeing 5 of the rooms down there in Sarasota, Florida. It looks like we have a class going on here in Classroom 1. If I click on that, I can actually, as you can see, I'm moving the cameras with my mouse. I have that functionality with any camera associated with Learning Space. I can pan, tilt, I can zoom in and out. And I can also, let's see, I don't think I actually have this set up with this classroom, so I might not do it. But let's see here. Yeah, I think this is the wrong room. But I'll show you in a moment, guys. Here you go. I have access to what we call preset camera angles as well in Learning Space, where I can let's say I really quickly need to jump to the back of the room. Well, I can move the camera manually, or I can just jump to maybe preset number 3, and boom, I can do that. Now, I called that preset number 3. You can create presets for any one of the cameras in your system, however many presets you want, and those could be named more pertinently, like, back of the room, front of the room, airway management, whatever it is that you want to quickly zoom in on without manually moving the camera. You can do that. Our users have found that very very useful in their experience. Now, when I'm looking at this page, you notice I clicked on this little settings wheel. I can toggle from one camera per room to the next. Each of these quote-unquote rooms in my system can actually incorporate up to 5 camera feeds. So each of these can maybe represent 5. Some of them might have just one camera in them. Depends on what the needs are in that room. Now, from this page, I can start and stop recording with my record control panel right here, which allows me to start recording in maybe all of these rooms simultaneously, or I can choose a specific room. And I can also utilize my intercom functionality, which allows me to send audio announcements into these rooms. I can also send audio announcements to the outside of the room, out in the hallway. So if you have students that are moving to the hallway, you want to get them some direction, something like that, you can do that through the learning space system as well. And you can use this intercom functional utilizing either a microphone attached to your computer, or you can send pre-recorded announcements. Now let's take a little bit of a closer look. I'm going to click on Classroom 1 here to go from the multi-room view into what we call the single-room view. I'll try not to eavesdrop on my friends there and Sarah, so I'll mute the computer. So now I'm on the single-room view, and I can see all, looks like it's 4 of the cameras that were in that room in the system. So I can see them all simultaneously. If that simulator was on and running a patient right now, I'd actually also see its vitals, as well as a trend chart, as well as an event log time-stamping the video for when things were happening to the simulator. Folks, just a moment. Just going to take a look at this. Just had a quick question there in the chat. All right, we'll keep moving forward. Now, I'm looking at the single room view. From here, I can also start and stop recording. Right here, I can see intercom announcements. Let me go ahead and just hit start recording and see what happens. Once I'm recording, I immediately start to see a progress bar across the top of the page. I can see the time within my video starting to count off. If I minimize record control and intercom control, I also see the annotations panel here. This allows me to add comments or bookmarks that I want to utilize later on for debriefing purposes. So you'll just type in the word sample here to give you an idea how that works. I can do whatever I want to type. And as I add that, it adds here. It says 22-second sample. If I leave my mouse here, it actually also shows the name of the person who submitted it and the date and time that they did that. That's useful because I might have 2 other faculty members watching the same room at the same time from their offices or from other desks within my observation suite. And they might be annotating the same video at the same time. And I would actually see their annotations pop up into my video, and I could hover over them to see, hey, who said that? Who said that? And I can kind of quickly see that and respond in kind. I also, of course, as I add these, see these little flags pop up along the top. I hover over those to show me what the annotation is saying as well. And I have the option of either utilizing this free text annotations, or you can have a library of preset annotations by category. You can see I have a number of different categories I can use. Maybe areas of development here. I'll have make sure all barbs are seated. All right, I'll choose that. And there we go. At 1 minute and 24 seconds, I have that annotation. I might choose to also, maybe this one I want to be a different color. I'll make that one orange. You can change these annotation colors on a whim, or you could have those within your institution. You can define what certain colors mean. Or a third option is, again, maybe you have 3 or 4 different folks watching the same video and annotating it. They might all choose to have their own preset annotation color. You see, mine was set to purple. That's why the first 2 showed up that way. I could change mine to green, and then any new annotation I added would then be green, just like this. So you can play around with that as there's an added functionality as you're bookmarking and watching the videos, getting ready to debrief later. So along with all of this, well, first of all, you may have noticed that I just pulled up this room. I hit start recording, I didn't reference anything that had been scheduled previously. I didn't define anything that was happening in the room. I just hit record. And that's kind of one of the neat things about the system. We have an on-the-fly recording kind of capability. Now, if I want to go ahead and define what's happening in this room more specifically, I can pull up that record control panel. I can say, you know what, we're actually specifically running an activity called maybe EMS simulation angina with cardiac arrest. And within that activity, we have a case. Remember, the cases are scenarios called George Davis, EMS George Davis. And let's say specifically in the room, I have a learner named Jose and a learner named Emily. So I just added these two learners. And you may have noticed as soon as I added one, this checklist popped up right here. This is because the case I chose, EMS George Davis, has been populated with a checklist that we want our faculty to fill out while watching these videos. So since I added a learner, it engaged that case, and it allowed me to start doing data entry on Matthew Beckett. So I can now watch live if you want to. That won't happen again, but if it does, if I drop out all of a sudden with the audio, don't be afraid. I'll be right back. I just have to click a button on my phone, and I'll be right back in. So apologies there. Now, I believe I was talking about expanding out this checklist so I could maybe take a better look at it. I can scroll down through, fill it out while I'm watching live. And let's say, again, there's two students in the room right now. Maybe I want to switch from assessing Matthew to assessing Emily. Well, I can do that by clicking right here and just clicking on Emily's name instead of Matthew. And just like that, I'm filling it out with her name on the top. Or maybe I would prefer not to double my work. I want to fill the checklist out one time. If I want to do that, I can click this group grading option right here. And that's going to allow me to fill out this checklist one time for both of the learners. Like that. Just a few more quick things before we move on, guys. If I jump back to the annotations area here for a moment, I'm going to add one more annotation. I'll just do a free text one, sample two, something like that. And you'll notice that now that I have an activity, a case, and actually learners associated with this video, whenever I add a new annotation, I actually see the names of the learners associated with this video listed there. What that means is that if in the future I decide to give Emily and Matthew access to this video, they will see that specific sample 2 annotation. They won't see the others because their names aren't associated with them, but they'll see those two. Now, if I wanted them to have access to the other ones, I might choose pull Matthew down and let him see this one. And it'd be Emily, I want her to see this one. And now, if they each individually logged in, they'd only see the ones that their names are associated with, and then the ones that both of their names were added to. So it's kind of a nice way that you can really customize which of these comments, which of these bookmarks the students can see if you give them access to these videos to do self-evaluation or peer evaluation later on. And we do, by the way, have the ability to create checklists and assign students to do peer and self-evaluation within the system. All right. One or two more things really quickly. Whenever I'm recording live, I can actually, at any point in time, if I need to step away from the computer or something, I can hit the pause button right here. And what that does, it doesn't stop recording the room. All it does is it stops the live stream to my computer. So that allows me to step away, take my phone call, put out any fires I need to put out. And then whenever I come back, I can go ahead and hit play, start watching from where I left off. Or I can click this Go Live button right here, which will bring me right back to what's happening right now in the room. So that's pretty neat, kind of like a DVR kind of functionality. And we also, along the same lines, I can click anywhere along the progress bar of this video at any point. Again, even while I'm still recording, I can go back and review that really quickly and then jump back to live. The last thing I'll show you guys is just that I can kind of rearrange these camera views however I'd like. I can jump to a full screen view if I want, just like that. And I can also resize these, maybe make this one a little bit larger, this one a little bit smaller. Whatever I want to do, I can do that. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll stop recording. We'll go back to home, and let's talk about what we do when we want to debrief that video. So I'm done recording. I want to watch the video. I go from the recording icon next door to the video review area, which is going to allow me to immediately see a list of all the recordings in my system. And the recording I just completed should be the first listed. They're in chronological order. And I can immediately just go ahead and click on that video, and it'll pull up and I can watch it. There's no processing time I have to wait for. It is immediately ready for me to watch, debrief with my students, utilize these annotations that I added during the video, during the recording, and go from there. It's very simple. I can also, depending on my level of privilege, whenever I open this video after the fact, I could maybe change the learners that were associated with the video. Maybe I misassigned them originally. I can change that after the fact. From this video review page, I can search for videos within my system, basically by any of the columns you see here. So by date, room, learner, SP, all the way over to case or event or activity. These can be also cross-referenced. So if I want to see all videos from a certain room on a certain day, something like that, I can. I can search for all videos prior to a certain date or after a certain date or within a certain range, whatever you may need. Now, whenever I do that, I can also, from this page, I can delete those videos. I can lock videos down so that they can't be deleted, and do a lot of other video management functionality from here. Now, going back to home, let's talk a little bit about that idea of cases and activities. Now, the case, as I mentioned earlier, was a scenario that you're running your students through. And with any scenario that you're running your students through, more often than not, you have some sort of assessment that you want to have filled out. A lot of folks might be doing that on paper right now or on some other homegrown assessment tool, something like that. Well, within Learning Space, you can build these checklists, you can build these cases in the system, and each of the individual participants can log in on their account, access their component of that case, complete it, and all that funnels into reports on the student's performance. So let's take a look at this really quickly. I'll click on Cases. When I do that, it brings us to this Case Manager area, where on the left-hand side, I see a list of what we call case cabinets. These are a way for you to simply organize the cases within your Learning Space system. So you might have a case for every single department, a case for every single client that might utilize your system as well. And if I click on any one of these, like maybe clinical skills assessment, that filters down the list on the right-hand side just to the cases that are in that cabinet. I can also search for any specific case I want. So right up here in the search bar. Now over here, I'll just pull up one of these randomly. How about CSA chest pain palpitations? Let's double click on that. It opens up. I can see really quickly some of the details of this case, the name of it, the presenting complaint, any other custom information associated with it. And then if I want to go in and look at the checklists themselves that will be accessed by participants who are participating in an activity that's utilizing this case, I can click on the case content area right over here, and it'll start to display. Now, these are all the different parts of the case that I can access. There's an SP part. Here's all the different questions that the standardized patients would fill out with the separate sections. Maybe a pre-encounter learner part, nothing much there. Post-encounter learner parts, maybe a write-up of some sort. You can, on the post-encounter portion, incorporate a time limit so that students, maybe if I put in 20 minutes here, they would have 20 minutes to fill out this component, and once that time limit is hit, they would basically be submitted. Whatever they've done to that point, it would be submitted, and they would be able to make any changes. Faculty observation, and I won't go through every single one of these, but we have case evaluation, SP performance assessment. That's actually a tool for SP trainers or SP on SP observation types of scenarios where you want to assess how well an SP is portraying a certain case, things like that. SP training is a before the activity type of training, type of interaction for the SPs. And then we have self-peer evaluation all the way at the end there. So again, a lot of different options, a lot of different avenues for data entry that you can explore. They play around with some of the nitty-gritty here for a moment. I won't bog you guys down too much. I just want to show you some of the neat functionality that we've recently added with the Intuitive system. Let's say I wanted to add within this communication section a new item, maybe a yes/no question for whatever reason. Well, on the left-hand side, I have all the options for different new items that I can add: yes, no, radio button, text, whatever you might want to add, you can do. And if I want to add a yes/no to this specific section, I can just click it and drag it over and drop it right in there. And there it is. It's a yes, no question. I'm just going to type sample because I don't want to have to think of an actual question. And I can start editing this. I can change the answer options, add point values. If I want to make another exact copy of this item, I can click the copy button right there, and there it is. It's very, very easy to quickly create the content, move it around. If I actually wanted this entire communication section to be later on in the case or in the checklist, I can click on it and drag it down below some of the other cases. Actually, it was already at the bottom. Oh, you know what? I think it was only, here we go. It was at the bottom, so maybe I'm going to put it up here between history of present illness and past medical history. And there it is. So extremely easy to add new content, manipulate the content that's already there. I know there are some current users on the system, so anyone who hasn't seen this yet, I'm hoping that you're pretty excited about this. Now, one other thing I'll show you real quickly here. Let's see how many times I have to move my tabs over. A couple, yeah, all right. Let's take a look at this. Let me click on this X-ray for a skull. Let's say I want to add this to my post encounter learner. I want the students to look at that. I can click on the X-ray, drag it over, and just drop it right on in. And there it is. Now I have that in my case. I added it as part of the question part. I could just as easily add something as one of the answers. Maybe say chest X-ray here would be answer option 2 there. And now that's actually the answer. Maybe I'll get rid of the text or something like that. And whenever I do that, I can also, once these are in here, oops, I should have, I'll do it this way. Should have done this way to begin with, and there it is. Once it's in there, I can maybe center that quickly and resize it a little bit. So clearly, hopefully you're picking up that this is a pretty simple, straightforward way of quickly adding content. It's what you see is what you get. Content builder, which means that how it looks here is how it's going to look when you're doing data entry on the back end, on the user end. And one more quick thing, if I want to add content that's already in my system somewhere else, I can reuse questions or entire sections from any other part of the system. I have a quick search functionality here. And whenever I do that, whenever I do use that search, I also get a quick preview of everything that I'm trying to copy in. So yeah, if I want to look at this, that's not what I want. Maybe I really want this one. So I can click on that and add it to this part of this case as well. So again, cases are your scenarios. You can have content in all of these different parts, meaning that all of these different checklists will be filled out by different people, or you can choose to have just an SD part or just a faculty observation part. You utilize the parts of the case that suit your needs. All right, so backing up here, and I did see some questions pop up in the chat. I'm just going to try to save all those for the end, guys. So I'm not going to forget you. We're going to move through the whole thing here, and then I'll circle back around to those questions. So we have our cases here, and again, when we want to utilize those, we can go over to this activities area where I'll just create one really quickly. I want to add a new activity. First of all, again, same kind of layout here. I have activities cabinets. Again, the cabinets could be for your different departments or clients, and then within each cabinet, you have these specific activities for that client or department, whatever it may be. Now, if I click New Activity here, you can see I can give this activity a name. I'll call this Sample Activity 320, what is it, 22, yeah. I can say that this activity is going to be active maybe today through tomorrow or maybe through Friday if I want. I can assign the specific cases that I want to bring my learners, SPs, and faculty in contact with when they're participating. So how about I'll look for something with chest pain in it. How about Bill Dombrowski? That works. And then I can, over the right-hand side, I can assign a type to this activity, which comes into play on the calendar later on. The calendar can be color-coded by the type of activity that you're searching for or that you assigned here. Maybe this is a lab, whatever you want to do. We can go through a lot of these as well. Events here are anything you have on the calendar. Anytime you schedule something and a portion of time where you're going to run students through this activity, we call that an event. Now, I just created this activity, so there are no events listed here. But once I start adding them on the calendar, or if I go to my advanced scheduling area here and start building them out there, those events would start to populate here. And I can click on them from this page to quickly get an overview of them or go in to edit them on the calendar. Participants, this is where I go in and I say who my students are going to be, who my learners are, who my FPs are going to be, I should say, and my faculty group. And you can see if I don't know the name of the group, if I didn't create them yet, I can click on this to jump to the user manager area where I can go and create accounts, create groups of users, and all that kind of fun stuff. Okay, so this is where I create an activity, which again is how I actually start to get the ball rolling, where I get I set a time frame, I choose which scenarios or cases are going to be running, and I can start scheduling students to come in and interact with them. Now, whenever that happens and you've done your data entry, that then leads us into being able to take a look at the kinds of reports and results that you can pull out from the use of those checklists and whatnot. Now, each of the activities on this list you can see has a reports icon next to it. We also have a reports icon at the top of the page. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and click on that right there. When I click on it, it brings us to this menu where we have 3 tabs: responses, scores, and preset reports. Now, right now on this responses page, you're seeing basically not a whole lot of information yet. There's no case selected here, and there's all of the running activities in my system. Audio there, so I'm back. So back on this page, responses page. Now, for any of you who have been using the system previously, this responses page is going to give you some information that's similar to what we call the case item analysis. Basically what it does, if I click on, first of all, I remove all the activities there by clicking that remove all button. If I go to the case area, I can choose a case. How about, I'll do that George Davis case. How about that? Here it is, you can mess George Davis. When I do that, I immediately, on the left-hand side, see a list of all the students who have ever seen this case, regardless of which activity they participated in. I can see their scores. On the right-hand side, I can see a line-by-line breakdown of how students did as a whole per item. So, for example, on this item right here, I see 20% of all the students who have seen this case got yes always on this specific question. I kind of go through each one of these. I can see that for every single part of the case where there was data entry, and I can kind of go from there. Now, the activities portion here, this would allow me to filter from the overall population of people who have ever seen this case down to maybe only the students that saw this case within one specific activity, or 2 or 3. So you can see kind of the historical averages, or you can filter down to certain activities, and also to certain groups. Now, beyond that, I can also maybe sort this list by score, and maybe I want to remove anybody who scored less than 60% and see what the numbers look like. I can quickly just start unchecking my name, first of all, and a few others. And I don't know if you're watching the averages on the right-hand side, but they did change as I was doing that. So you can kind of tweak this and really utilize it to pull out a lot of important information. Maybe if you filtered it down just to your top performers, you could see trends there. Maybe filter down to your lower performers, trends there as well. And also global trends. And you might see that if everyone's doing poorly in a certain area, you might want to take that item out or hit that topic more within your curriculum. Now, next to this responses area, we have a scores area. Now, this is actually a brand new feature here, which was brought about really based on feedback from our user base. We got a lot of feedback, and before I totally go into that, preset reports right here. These preset reports, which I'll go over in a moment, these have always been in the system from its inception, and they have a lot of great information. They're very useful. They can be tweaked a little bit, but we got a lot of feedback from our users that they wanted to be able to pull out the information however they wanted to, and just kind of pull it out, put it in Excel, and do whatever they wanted to do. And that's what we've done with the scores area here. So to quickly give you an example here, this is kind of like a pivot table builder in Learning Space. If you're familiar with Excel, and you have all of the data points that have been ever collected with any kind of data entry, with any activity, any case, at your fingertips here. So, for example, maybe I'll choose to add columns to my report here. How about I'll say I want to see all the cases that are on my system. There you go. There's all my cases right there, all the way across, and I'd see all the average scores for those cases. Now maybe I'll add another column set with maybe the skill areas that were assessed within each of those cases. So some of these cases will quickly only assess one, but others there might be more than one. Here's one that has a number of them. So I have some good columns there. How about now I'll add a row or some rows. How about the learners? I can see all the learners in my system now. I want to see them listed here. I want to be able to see a very large data set I can then maybe filter down a little bit further. So we'll give that a second to load. There we go. Now these are all the learners. Now they won't all have, of course, they won't all have data necessarily because they didn't all participate in every single case. And that's why we added, of course, the all-important filter capability. So maybe I'll now filter down to, how about a certain group of learners? Maybe, how about this? I'll type in 2014. Med Class 2014 is one of my groups, I believe, in this system. And once that pops up, I can click that, and it's going to filter out down just to the learners that are in that group. And from there, I can continue filtering further and further down until I get to the data set that I'm looking for. Guys, I do apologize. My internet connection might be a little faltering here, so bear with me. Here we go. Let's see, Med Class 2014, and that should filter down to those students. And then I can, let's say I don't want to filter down any further from here, but of course I could until I get to where I want that data to be. And then I can export this straight to Excel, or I can pull it out as a graph, a bar graph, or you can see I have a print option. I can print straight to PDF if I'd like. SP line, let's see what that looks like. I might not be the best representation, but you can see you can choose the option that works best. I can add a legend here and print that out if I'd like. Okay, I'll close this. Now, along with being able to create custom reports on the fly here, you can also create, pre-saved setups. So I had, here's one called CSA Total that was set up previously. Another one, Major Skill Area Averages. And this one I can create ahead of time, and then as more and more people are going through my system and being assessed, more and more data is compiled here. So a lot to do here, a lot of customizability here. Preset reports here. These are actually pretty straightforward. I can choose, a certain activity in my system that then allows me to start pulling out things like group performance review, performance matrix, a lot of options for group and back-end reporting here. I can pull up a specific case within that activity and start pulling out case item analysis, which is, again, akin to the responses portion, but not quite as robust, but still a useful tool. And then if I add learners here, I can start looking at individual reports. And each of these individual performance reports can also be made available to my students, along with the video that I can link to them. All right, that was a lot of reporting. Let's go ahead and go back to home and talk a little bit, really quickly, about user management, calendar, and resources. And I want to go back and talk to you guys about hardware configuration. So user manager area here really quickly. First of all, it looks pretty similar to the overall layout of the cases and activities. We have, instead of cabinets over here on the left-hand side, though, we have groups of users. And one thing I didn't point out before, we do have this in the activity cases area as well, but you can also have kind of a tree structure to these groups of users. So you may have a main group and then all the subgroups to that group. If I choose a group on the left-hand side, it toggles the right-hand list to the users in that group. I can search for users here as well. I can pull up one specific user and start to edit their account, change their privileges, and we can edit a user's privileges not only by going down to this privilege list and clicking off certain privileges, but we can also assign what we call roles. Now, a role is kind of a predefined combination of privileges in the system. And if I click on roles here, This is where I can see here are all the current predefined roles, and if I want to add a new one, I can just come down here, type something in, and start clicking off the privileges that I want anyone with that specific role to be able to have. This is actually something we created based on feedback from our users who, as you can see here, we have a pretty good long list of privileges that you can give to a user. A lot of our clients, they said, we like that flexibility, but it's a lot to remember, all those privileges. I don't want to remember all those people what they need every single time I add a new one of them. So they asked for something like this, and we created this roles function so that if I'm adding a new, faculty member, I can just click on that role when I create them, and I know that they get this subset of privileges. Also from this page, I can quickly and easily batch upload large groups of users, a new cohort of learners using just an Excel spreadsheet template. I can upload that, and I can also upload pictures with that. So that's a very useful tool, so you can quickly add a large group of users without having to add them each manually. Again, if you use LDAP functionality, we can use Active Directory to pull accounts to the system that way. All right, a little bit more, guys. The calendar over here really quickly. I can see on this page either a daily, weekly, or a monthly view of what's happening within my simulation center. I can also see a list view, which gives me the next 6 months, basically, look of what's happening in my center. So we don't have anything going on past March right now. That's interesting. If I click on any of these blue days, like the 30th, I can jump down to that. On the left-hand side, I can see we have a spleen crisis management and new event. And I can click on either advanced scheduling or new event, the name, to pull that up and edit that if I need to. Now, if I go back to daily view, let's talk about this for a minute. Let's say I want to schedule some time right now in Classroom 1, maybe from 3 to 4. I can go to Classroom 1 and start clicking here, drag this over, and I can start to add some details here. I can add a new event title, practice sample, Now on the right-hand side, I can specify an actual activity, one of the activities I've created in my system, an actual fellowship workshop, something like that if I'd like. I can make this a repeating booking in my system if I'd like. If I do that, maybe I'll say it's every day, every weekday, every week, second week, every month. And once I do that, I can also choose when that would end, that repeat would end. Again, when I'm doing this, I'll also choose which case from that specific activity would be running in this room. For example, day 1. Resources I can add. And again, that resource in the system can be a room, a simulator, a person, consumables, whatever you might want to add that would be added to this booking and tracked on the back end. You can also add participants. That can either be a group of users or an individual user. There's a lot of options there. Now, if I close this out after booking, there it is, practice sample. And let's say I want to add other rooms to that booking now after the fact. Well, if I just click on it, I can click Set Rooms here, and then you can see I can maybe add it to this room, and this room. Just like this. You can click that one well. There you go. And I can quickly add those, and they'll all have the same settings. Actually, if I go back to the first one, I can click Apply this case to all the rooms, and you'll see it in each location. That's quick and easy. Now, if I don't have admin level user access when I'm in here, you would see an area where I would submit a request to do this booking. So I would get set all this up, and I would submit that so that someone with the proper privilege level would be able to go in then and approve or reject that booking request based on whatever else might be happening in the simulation center at that time. Okay, let's back up. One more quick area, resource management. Again, this is where I can track the usage of resources within my system. I can track them by activities. I can track them by clients. You have your own list of clients that you can populate. We have resources here where I can define the resources that I want to track. You can see by what we call cabinets. I can see maybe my faculty members here. I have my simulators here. And I can add more cabinets. I can add more resources, which can then be tracked either by whenever I run a certain case or scenario, I can tag certain resources that are automatically tracked whenever I use those cases. or I can manually add them over in here in this resource register area. And if I go over to the recent usage area, I can see within maybe the last 2 months or whatever other time frame I want to choose here, all of the activities that have utilized some resources. Now, on the right-hand side, I can define what I call my favorite resources in the system. And when I do that, see my favorites are lab animals, medical equipment, rooms, and simulators. And when I do that, I can quickly get a look at which of these have been used in the last 2 months or whatever the time frame is. And if I click on this, it gives me a nice little pie chart of that breakdown, or if I click on details, it brings me over to this resource register where I get the individual logs for each usage. Finally here, the reports area gives me a lot of reports I can pull out as PDF, Excel. I can search by client, I can search by cabinet or resource, and pull all of this data out of the system into Excel where I can maybe continue to work the numbers, help me generate invoices, help me justify future purchases, and whatnot. Resource allocation here is actually especially useful for that because it allows me to look at a report that shows me here's how much I expected to use this resource and here's how much I actually did over a certain period of time. All right, guys, now I have a bit more to cover on the presentation side, so if you'll excuse me, I'm going to jump back over to the Prezi. And again, I will also be, as time allows us to, going through the questions. I've seen a handful of them pop up as we're going through. But let's talk through a little bit more before we do that. All right, so as far as the hardware, some good things to know about Learning Space. The equipment. All the equipment is located at your facility and owned by you. It is state-of-the-art, all-digital system with HD cameras, clear audio, digital intercom functionality. Turnkey, hardware, software, installation, training, and support, all from CAE Healthcare. We're not sourcing any of that outside of our company. Easy wiring, everything is powered over the Ethernet. So cameras are PoE, microphones, everything. Ease of access, completely browser-based, and iPad and Surface tablet compatible. Connection, Learning Space can be self-contained or reside on your local network, which is important. And of course, you determine that. We don't really put any limitations on that access. As far as hardware configurations, guys, we have a couple of options here. We have the Ultra Portable, which consists of a portable case, as you see here, 2 wireless HD cameras with built-in microphones, a display capture kit, which pulls in any video inputs, including anything from a non-CAE simulator. A laptop running the Learning Space software can be used as an accessory to an installed system or as its own standalone. So the key points here are you can take it anywhere, begin recording in minutes, and debrief immediately after recording. We also have the one-room installation. This is actually a picture of the Learning Space 1 box. This box consists of the Learning Space. This option consists of the Learning Space appliance, where you see we have basically a plug-and-play kind of appliance here. We have camera ports in the back. We have audio ports in the back. We have ports for connecting a simulator via wired connection. We have a port over here, right here, for pulling in the video from again, a non-CAE simulator or anything else, the video output that you want to pull into your system. So we have one of these boxes in the room. Then you can add HD cameras. You have it comes with a professional-grade omnidirectional microphone. It is, as I mentioned, built-in display capture kit, wireless and wired connectivity to CAE simulators, as well as wireless or wired client access. Multi-room basically consists of one of those boxes in each of your rooms, and then a rack-mountable Connect server. The Connect server basically connects all of those boxes as a unified database. This allows for multiple HD camera options, built-in display capture kit again on each of those boxes, microphones included per box, and of course the Connect server allows for centralized video storage. So key points: multiple room support, centralized access and control, easily scalable, and scalable storage starting at 12 terabytes. All right, guys, here's again, a sample floor schedule of what it would look like with these one boxes and then the Connect servers. All right. A little bit more really quickly here. The camera options, we have both digital PTZ and optical PTZ options. Now, digital PTZ are your most commonly wall-mounted cameras. They are physically fixed, but they have a wide angle, as you can see, and you can zoom in and pan and tilt within the digital image that is captured by that wide angle. Whereas the optical cameras on the right-hand side, our Axis P5514 here, they actually physically pan and tilt and zoom, and they don't have quite as wide, but they have a much more potent zooming capability. Excuse me, guys. All right, a little bit more. So as far as non-CAE simulator, we touched on this a little bit now. Whenever I'm pulling in a non-CAE simulator, like a Laerdal simulator in this example, this is what I would see. As far as when I'm watching live, I would have ECU or display capture unit pulling in the Laerdal monitor. And on the right-hand side, I can generate a trend chart based on the values that I'm pulling off of that video image. That uses actually what we call OCR, optical character recognition technology to pull that in. And then after the fact, we can upload the event log to pull that in to sync that up with the video itself as well, to add bookmarks for all those specific events. Other additional accessories that are optional, you have an additional microphone kit for larger rooms. So if you need another microphone to pick up the other side of the room, we can add that. We can provide a rack, KVM, or UPS, uninterrupted power source. Sorry, again. Moving on. Talking quickly about services. I'm sorry, guys, I'm rushing a little bit because I want to make sure I can address some of those questions before we run out of time. So as far as services, we run the gamut. We offer implementation and design. We consult with you on floor plans, hardware options, and IT and network requirements. We're very heavily involved in that process ahead of time and throughout the installation process. Again, with the installation process, we provide the installation. Ultra Portable and One are designed to be self-installable, but with larger One plus Connect installations, we would recommend that you put this installation. Now, with training, that's recommended as well. We provide on-site training, or we have, for all of our users that are under warranty, we have free training for life at Sarasota and also our Long Beach, California locations, or training locations. We also have a help site at help.caehealthcare.com, which has a number of training videos you can access, as well as frequently asked questions, live chat with support, and much more. And that ties into the customer service as well. Best-in-class customer service, highly rated year after year by our users. All right, so at the end of my preset presentation, guys, let me jump out of here. I know I saw a whole bunch of questions in the chat, so let me try to dive into those now. Thank you guys for your patience. Hopefully I didn't go too fast at the end there. Let's see here. I can see a lot of you were interested in a bit more about the specific changes with Intuity versus previous releases of the system. Now, there will be some more upcoming webinars on those specific differences. This webinar was kind of more geared toward giving people introduction to learning space as a product in general. Now, we will be communicating those webinar opportunities via the listserv. We'll also, if there is a more pressing need, please reach out to your regional sales managers. We can probably set up something to meet your needs. Will current hardware be compatible with new updates? Yes, the majority of our existing systems, depending on their age, should be compatible. There are maybe a few out there that might benefit from upgrading of the servers, but that would be on a case-by-case basis. The majority are going to be just fine with your current hardware. Another question: plugins removed, guys. With the Intuity release, we're actually incorporating HTML5, so you no longer need to utilize any kind of QuickTime or whatnot to run the cameras and systems. All right, other questions I'm having here. Let's see. When you were in the recording section, you showed that faculty were able to grade the students as activity was going on. How did you set that up for cases? Well, where's this checklist? That checklist was in the faculty observation and narrative part of the case. So when I was grading that case, that checklist that I was filling out while watching live was the faculty observation and narrative. Supporting capability is only available to the Intuitive version. The responses and the scores portions that you saw when I was going through the system earlier, those are Intuitive. And if you are looking to purchase Learning Space, that is the version of Learning Space that you would be working with once it was installed. Each function, some of these I might need to take offline, guys. Pretty specific reporting capability. Yeah, got that web interface for your scheduling module calendar. The scheduling module and calendar in Learning Space are currently you access them through Learning Space, which is web-based. So anybody who has an account in Learning Space, one of the biggest advantages that I see in Learning Space is the constant evolution of the system. Now, Beeline and EMS, they come out with new releases every couple of years, not regularly, and they don't necessarily base those advancements in their systems on user feedback. Now, Learning Space, on the other hand, we are constantly looking at our support tickets that come in. A lot of our users will submit requests for new features regularly, and we take those into account, and we actually update the system about twice a year. This Intuitive is our spring release, and we're already working on the fall release of the system, which is going to incorporate even more advanced SP functionality, such as more enhanced scoring, scheduling, as I meant to say, as well as a payroll functionality, better training functionality for SPs as well. So that's all coming in, as well as a bit of an overhaul of the scheduling functionality. So we constantly are improving the system. Again, hardware light, very flexible, and easy configuration of the system as well. So those are just a couple of examples of why Learning Space is best choice. I would also say ease of use in general. I've seen a couple of these other systems, and they can be a little bit clunky to learn. With Learning Space, we provide 3 days of training. We bring someone on site. We try not to leave until we know that you're ready to go and you're going to hit the ground running with the system. Let's see. Can we email or send an email invite to the faculty member from the calendar scheduler? Not currently. That's a good idea, though. We'll have to add that to the list of requests. Let's see. Is there a cost for the Intuitive upgrade? No. Any current users, if you are under your support and maintenance, if you're up to date on your support and maintenance, there is no cost associated with this upgrade. And that's something I should have pointed out, again, to that question earlier. If you're under your support and maintenance agreement, guys, all of these bi-yearly updates to the system are free of charge to you. All right, let's see, kind of jump through here really quickly. The equipment list include inventory option allows you to know if you overbooked your resources. You can see if you have been overutilizing based on your expected use of the system. And you can also see if you have having double booked. So the system will say, hold on, you're about to double book this what's what I'm looking for, this resource, and it will warn you, and it won't let you basically book that twice. All right, guys. I think I've covered the majority of the questions here. I appreciate your time. I have been recording this, so if anybody would like access to this recording, please let us know. And again, if you tuned in today looking for more of a very specific, in-depth look at just what's new with Intuitive versus previous versions, please reach out to your regional sales managers, and also look out, if you're current users, look out for the listserv for announcements on when those more specific webinars will be coming. All right, guys, thanks for your time, and have a great time. Have a great day.